tap. Callie stirred in her bed. It happened at the same time every night. She always tried to sleep through it, but it would just get louder. Tap, tap, tap. Callie sighed and opened her eyes to see the alarm clock flash in glowing red numbers. 3 a.m. She grumbled at the thought. It had been a month since she'd gotten a full night's sleep. How could she with all that noise? The first time she'd heard it, she thought she was dreaming, but she knew better now. Callie rolled out of her warm bed and made her way down the stairs and into the kitchen for a drink. She exhaled in relief as the tapping stopped. After a cold drink, Callie decided that it was time to sleep again. She had classes in the morning, and her lack of sleep was really hurt her school performance more than she would like to admit. After using the restroom and settling herself back in bed, Callie welcomed the drowsy feeling as she began to slowly slip back into her dreams. Tap, shh, tap, shh. Something didn't feel right. Callie tried to move her arm, but it wouldn't respond. What's going on? She wondered, starting to feel panicked. Her heart raced. Tap, shh, tap, shh, tap. There was a static in the air, and the noises were picking up on it. Callie tried to open her eyes, but again, nothing happened. The next morning, Callie woke as the past night started coming back to her. She jumped out of bed, wiggling around to ensure every bit of her worked. She was fine, shaken and tired, but fine. Callie went on with her day, dreading what might happen that night. She didn't bother to tell her parents or friends because she knew they would just tell her it was all a dream. She wished it was. That night, Callie went to bed early, exhaustion starting to take over her. Her dreams came on easily, although they weren't anything like her normal dreams. Callie stood in the hallway outside her bedroom. Everything was dark and quiet. It must have been the middle of the night. Her oversized t-shirt hung to her knees on her tiny frame. It clung to the back of her thighs with a sudden gust of cold air. Curious, Callie turned toward the draft to see the spare room at the end of the hall with its door open. The room was somehow darker than the hall, pitch black and eerie. The static played in the air around her ears. Callie looked up around her, but didn't see a source for this noise. It stopped. Tap, tap, tap. She shook her head and took a step forward, hoping to somehow pin the source down once and for all. Though she didn't know how she would do such a thing. She knew this wasn't something normal, and probably not something tangible. Shh. The static started once again at a deafening volume. Callie clasped the side of her head to cover her ears, cringing at the sound. Beep, beep, beep. Callie screamed as the morning wake-up call woke her. She reached over and turned it off as quick as she could. She was drenched in sweat. Her dream had felt so real, and she still felt as though she had not slept in ages, even though, for once, she had slept through the whole night. Callie continued to have the same dream all of the next week. The dream changed little every night, but the one thing that did was how many steps she took towards that spare room at the end of the hall. In reality, there wasn't anything special about the room at the end of the hall. It was used as a guest room and a little storage space that her family kept winter clothes in odd ends. After school one day, Callie decided to go into the guest room. She had been avoiding it ever since that first dream, but needed some sort of reassurance. She wasn't sure what she would find, but she knew that it probably wouldn't be anything. Callie slowly crept towards the room and pushed open the door. She peered in. Seeing nothing unusual or out of place, she stepped in. Still nothing. Callie let out a sigh and a small giggle. How silly, she said to herself. What's silly? Her father asked from the doorway. Oh, nothing, Daddy. I just thought something was in here. I thought I heard something. Callie smiled at her father. He smiled back and walked away. That night, feeling better now that she braved the room and found nothing, Callie went to bed happy for a change. Just be positive, she told herself. That night, the tapping woke her. Fear took over her. She realized she couldn't move. Her body just would not respond. The tapping stopped, and the static began. Shh. All Callie could do was lay there, helpless. As she listened, she noticed another sound beneath the static. Ka. Shh. The static got louder. Ka. She listened as hard as she could to the sound. Ka. Suddenly, the static stopped. Callie. She heard a soft female voice whisper. Callie, Callie, Callie. It repeated. The sing-song voice danced around the room. She felt her eyelids twitch, and she realized she could move them. Callie opened her eyes to see big red eyes staring down at her in the pitch-black room. She couldn't scream. She couldn't move. All she could do was stare. Everything went black, and Callie passed out.